What's up guys, coming at you again with some more Hollow Knight. The following is a 100% complete guide to every collectible, every dialogue interaction, lore piece, and secret that you can possibly find in the City of Tears area. Now this is going to be a pretty long one, but I do assure you, we cover it all. So grab a snack, strap in for a few minutes, and join us as we tear this sucker open. Let's get started. The City of Tears is the cornerstone capital of the kingdom you are exploring, Hallownest. The level provides the player with a pretty impressive spectrum of routes and passages. You can get to almost anywhere in the game from here without a lot of effort. There are 2 stag stations, one in the city storerooms and another near the kingdom's edge at the far right of the capital. The City of Tears is one of the largest territories in the game and unsurprisingly houses an equally large amount of lore that's pertinent to Hallownest. The somber color scheme of blues and purples, inundated with a rainy ambience, does an exceedingly great job of putting the player in a calming, melancholic mood. The city is also home to some of the most strikingly beautiful scenery and level design in the entire game, and rightfully so because you'll probably be spending the most time here returning to vendors and such. The city has quite a lot of verticality to it, a few elevators, one of which you can access directly from the Crossroads, the first area in the game. Other than that, there isn't much I can say without diving into the rest of the content, so let's go on ahead and continue. Now, the first thing we're going to do is tackle the lore and dialogue stated by all of the NPCs in the area. Now, as I stated before, the City of Tears is heavy with narrative, secret lore, and other fascinating trivia about the universe you're in. The first NPC you'll run into on your visit here is Quirrell, who indecisively sits on the bench awaiting the courage to descend into the depth of the city. Now, he has a little bit of dialogue talking about how this is basically the most populated area during Hallownest's apex, and that some of the husks still remember their training as knights and warriors, despite being overcome by infection. He tells you that the enemies here are certainly formidable and very challenging to deal with. Quirrell talks about his arduous journey here to the capital, but now having seen the city himself, the sheer magnitude and size of the capital prevents him from exploring further. Quirrell himself is very enigmatic and seems to operate under a much deeper motive that we might explain more thoroughly in another video, but for now let's just remain focused on what he offers to the city. The next crucial interaction you'll run into if you're visiting the city for the first time is Hornet, curiously standing before the statue of the Hollow Knight himself, a figure who was prophesized to protect the city of Hallownest and bring forth a period of serenity and security for the rest of the kingdom. Now, unfortunately, this ended up not really being the case. Hornet tells you of the Hollow Knight's sacrifice for Hallownest and why exactly it was so imperative that he did so. Even reading the statue itself, you do receive text saying, "Through his sacrifice, Hallownest lasts eternal." Thus the reason the Hollow Knight finds himself trapped in the Black Egg Temple far above in the upper portion of the Crossroads. She then proceeds to warn you about your journey towards the King's brand, and that accepting its seal will task your character with a grim responsibility. Go a little further and you'll find a very peculiar figure, one who delights in the collection of rare artifacts and relics throughout the kingdom, Relic Seeker Lem. Now this is where you can find some pretty interesting lore about the history of Hallownest, how people lived during its height, as well as the societies that came before Hallownest was even established. What response you get is largely determinant on what relic you give him. King's idols and arcane eggs will likely return the most amount of lore, and it seems that the rarer the relic, the more trivia you're given. At one point later on in the game, you will find Lem outside of his usual hut, staring stoically into the fountain, possibly looking at the statue or just getting lost in the water below. Interrupting him, he will turn to you and share a piece of dialogue, revealing that he never quite knew what that sacrifice really was, and that looking at the statue kind of puzzled him. He then prompts you to meet him back in his shop because he really isn't one for conversation. Or rain. Moving on to the next NPC, and possibly my personal favorite one to talk to, the Nailsmith is someone you'll be returning to pretty often if you play the game at length. The Nailsmith provides you with predictable dialogue and isn't really that exciting until when you fully upgrade your nail. At this point, he will ask you to strike him down with the nail. You can either fulfill or ignore his request. But if you ignore his request and journey to the green path where you can learn from a nail master, you'll find that the nailsmith and one of the nail masters, Shio, have taken quite a friendly liking to each other, and he'll end up thanking you for not striking him down when he requested it. Next, let's talk about the Soul Master, the boss of the Soul Sanctum area from which you can learn the Desolate Dive move. Turns out the Soul Sanctum played a pretty heavy part in experiments with the soul that you collect. These experiments not only abused the power of the soul, but decisively punished anyone who performed these experiments. Now this is all confirmed by the Soul Master's dialogue once you dream nail him after the fight and vanquish him again in the dream as the Soul Tyrant. Their original plan was to harness the soul as an infinite power source and become immortal. It's only after you defeat the Soul Master and the Soul Tyrant when you are finally given dialogue regarding the Soul Master's regrets, and that had he known the dismay his experiments were bringing into the kingdom, he would have stopped immediately. Sadly, after the King of Hallownest disapproved of his abusing the soul and banned his experiments, he didn't stop until he ended up transforming everyone in the sanctum into these follies you see sliding around the level. Millabelle is an NPC your character is familiar with if you've made it into the Queen's Station. Not a lot of backstory here, just a lousy thief with sticky fingers and a conniving disposition. Moving on to a more questionable and seemingly diminutive NPC, Eternal Emilitia, whatever. A bug you find after ascending the elevator accessed through the royal waterways. She boasts about how she's outlived every bug in Hallownest and how her will hasn't been tainted by the grasp of the infection. Although something tells me that moment will certainly come sooner rather than later. She also has unique dialogue after you receive the King's Brand from inside the Kingdom's Edge. Alright, so moving on to collectibles and various treats you can find in the City of Tears. I'll be showing you whispering roots, grubs, charms, relics, geodeposits, and even a few secret paths and a few you may not be familiar with. Starting above the City of Tears near the city storeroom Stag Station, a whispering root can be found in this room here, and I've also marked the location on your map. This whispering root contains 28 essence scattered on both the platforms outside and inside the small cavities in the building to the right. And just above the King's Station, if you head left from the bench and make your way upwards, you can find a vessel fragment near an elevator. Now the City of Tears also branches out into a few smaller sub-areas that you can reach through platforming, including the Pleasure House, the Soul Sanctum, and the Watcher's Spire. Let's go through the city itself first. The first grub can be found just beneath where you find Cornifer. From the bench, hop down the platforms to your left, and after the screen transition, walk right and take the elevator down a single floor. You should find a Husk Knight, and directly next to where he's perched on the wall should be the grub. The second grub is found directly to the left of the King's Station area. From the bench, head out left into the King's Station, and then jump to the lower left portion of the area where you came in, taking you to the room with all of the giant Husk guards. Make your way to this area on the map shown here and you'll find a room you can enter, and there you can pick up your second grub. Now the third grub in the city is just beyond the King's Station. From the same bench, head out left and drop down directly. Take the passageway on the right like you're traveling to Kingdom's Edge, but don't actually go there. 3 explosive bellflies will throw themselves at you in this hallway. Go towards the second one and bait it into killing itself, and then there should be a pretty obvious tunnel directly to the left where the third and final grub in the city will be found. Heading upwards into the heart of the Soul Sanctum, one grub you'll see is pretty easy to find, as defeating the Soul Master is a huge requirement for getting it. After you've been given the Desolate Dive Soul ability, follow the path of the cracked floors until you're plunged into this giant room right here. Now head up to where the Soul Totem is and drop down a little without falling all the way back down to the same room, and a grub will be right to your left. The fifth grub is imprisoned just at the base of the Watcher's Spire. From this bench here, head directly to the right and keep heading in that direction. Past the lever you used to open the passageway, take the upwards route into the next area. From there, defeat the Husk Knight and head up again. Take the elevator a single floor up and head to the right. Mantis claw your way up this wall and into a room with another Husk Knight right here. Clear him out, and directly to the left will be the fifth grub. The final 3 grubs you'll find are locked away in the Tower of Love with the Collector, sealed with a lock. The tower is accessible through the Kingdom's Edge to get to the door. Navigate this route outlined on the map upwards through Kingdom's Edge, and you should be able to find the room pretty easily. Head through to the next area right here and use the love key you received at the Queen's Gardens. Defeat the collector boss, and directly upwards from that room you will have found 3 more grubs, as well as a map pin that allows you to identify all other grubs located in Hallownest. Moving on to charms, there actually aren't that many in the City of Tears. In fact, there's only one in the Soul Sanctum sub-area just prior to where you face off against the Soul Master boss. And I'm talking very prior, as in literally right before you fight him. There's a secret passageway leading upwards into the roof of the building. From there, keep heading right and vanquish any enemies occupying the area. And here is where you should pick up the Spell Twister charm, which moderately reduces the cost of soul expended when using your powers. The charm itself uses up 2 notches. Additionally, you can purchase the Elegant Key from Sly after finding his shop key in the Crystal Peak. This opens up a secluded door hidden in the southern portion of the Soul Sanctum. Entering the sanctum from the bottom, immediately head left and then up, and the door itself is right here on the map where I've marked it. Use the Elegant Key and challenge the Soul Warrior inside. It will be a bit of a tough fight, but if you emerge from it, you will be able to continue upwards into the area and collect the Shade Soul, which is a permanent upgrade to your Vengeful Spirit ability. Relics in the City of Tears are unsurprisingly abundant, considering Relic Seeker Lem is also found in the greater section of the city. In the city itself, ignoring sub-areas for now, there are Wanderer's Journals and Hallownest Seals, 2 of each. You'll find the Wanderer's Journals here, to the left of the city storeroom Stag Station, and here in the tower above the King Station, getting off from the elevator right here before it reaches the top. You'll find a Hallownest Seal to the left of this spiked building right here. Now, downslash capability is definitely required here because you have to strike downward to bounce on the spikes and reach the seal. The second one is right at the top of this section of the map just before you reach the Hollow Knight Memorial. There are also Hallownest Seals in the Soul Sanctum and in the Watcher Spire, one directly up and to the left of the room where you fought the 6 Watcher Knights, and another seal at the leftmost room of the Sanctum that's accessible after fighting the Soul Master. Additionally, another Wanderer's Journal can be found in the Pleasure House on the very first floor, just beyond this discreetly hidden passageway. Alright, now for some fun stuff. If you're having trouble figuring out how to get to this Geo deposit right here, you can access this room through a neat little passageway discovered just under the ledge, right next to the area leading to the Kingdom's Edge. Jump up here and Mantis Claw your way up to the room with the deposit, and there you go. The gorgeous Husk secret enemy can be found going into this room right here, left of the King's Station area. Once again, backtracking to where you encountered a few of the giant Husk Knights. Hop through this little passageway here and you can defeat the gorgeous Husk, which rewards you 420 Geo. Okay, that was totally on purpose. There's no wonder he's so giggly, he's baked off of his ass. Extending on Millabelle a little, she is a banker, and she's also a crook, and she scared the right piss out of me my first time playing through the game. Because after depositing your Geo and getting to a certain point in the game, you will find she's no longer in her hut and has relocated to some mysterious location. Now this is all old news at this point, but you can find her in the Pleasure House sub-area and shake her loose for all she's worth. Even though the maximum deposit allowed is 4,500 Geo, you can end up collecting a solid 7,000 or more by simply beating her senseless. It's pretty fun. Thank you so much for tuning into The Forge as always. This channel is doing better than it really ever has been thanks to you guys that routinely watch my content. If you're new to this channel, then every now and then I do try to hop into the comments section and respond to some of you. If you'd like to support this channel, please consider subscribing and also turning on your notifications using this bell right here beside the subscribe button. And of course, if you are a fan of Hollow Knight, which I assume you are since that's the reason you were led to this video, be sure to watch the channel's ongoing Hollow Knight lore series, as well as our tips, guides, and walkthrough videos. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you next time.